Hi, this is Miss DeVito, and today I'm going to show you how to make Chef Nick Malgieri's Devil's Food Cake Dome that he presented to us during CTE month. For this recipe, you will need 1 cup or 135 grams of unbleached all-purpose flour, 1 cup or 200 grams of sugar, a quarter teaspoon of salt, and a half a teaspoon of baking soda. I have 2 ounces of semi-sweet chocolate cut into half-inch pieces, 2 ounces of unsalted butter cut into small cubes, quarter of a cup of sour cream. You can also use yogurt or buttermilk. 1 large egg at room temperature and a teaspoon of vanilla extract. I'm going to need a large bowl for mixing, a medium bowl for melting the chocolate, half a cup of water that's boiling. You're going to boil it, then measure it. In each pan, either square or round, that's lined with parchment paper and some pan spray. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to melt the chocolate. I'm going to take the chocolate that I've cut into small pieces, and I'm going to pour on top of it the butter, 2 ounces of butter that I have cut into small pieces. And to that, I'm going to add my half a cup of boiling water. I already measured it after it came up to a boil. I was just keeping it warm on the stove. I want to stir this mixture to make sure that all of the butter and chocolate is melting completely. Now it's time to add the sour cream. If you feel like the temperature is too hot, you can let this cool for a little bit. If not, you can go to the next step. The next step is to add your sour cream. Again, you can use yogurt or buttermilk if you want to substitute that. I'm going to add my 1 egg and my teaspoon of vanilla extract. Again, I wanted to make sure that this mixture was cool before I added my egg so the egg wouldn't start to cook. All right, so now in my large mixing bowl, I'm going to put my 1 cup of flour, my 1 cup of sugar, my quarter teaspoon of salt, and half teaspoon of baking soda. And I'm going to take these ingredients and combine them together really well. And then I'm going to start to add my chocolate mixture. When I'm transferring the chocolate mixture to the bowl with the flour, I just want to make sure that I really scrape the sides of the chocolate bowl with a rubber spatula to make sure that I get everything out of that bowl. All of the flavor, you don't want to leave anything behind. Now I'm going to just stir the cake mixture until it is well combined. Do not overmix it. You just want to make sure that all of the flour is absorbed by the chocolate mixture. You can see how nice and smooth this batter looks. So next I'm going to put it into my cake pan. So I have a square cake pan. Again, if you have a round one, you can use that as well. This is what I had. It was easiest for me to access it. Spray the pan a little bit with pan spray so the parchment paper will stick down on the bottom, and then spray the sides with the pan spray and pour your cake in. So you want to spread the cake out into an even layer all the way to the sides, making sure that it's nice and level on top. And I actually just like to shake it on the counter a little bit just to make sure. I'm going to place it in a 350 degree preheated oven for 20 to 25 minutes, or a toothpick comes out clean. So while it's baking, I'm going to prepare the filling. I decided that I wanted to put pudding in the middle of this because I didn't have a lot of whipped cream. So I'm going to make some instant pudding made from Jell-O. It is okay to have some substitutions sometimes or some shortcuts, and this one is a very delicious one. The recipe on the package says to take 2 cups of milk for pudding, but since I'm making a filling, I reduced the amount of milk in this filling to 1.5 cups, so it's a little bit thicker and will stand up in the cake when I take a slice out. Stir it until there are no lumps, and then I'm going to put it in the refrigerator so it has time to set up while my cake is cooling and I'm preparing the rest of my ingredients. I'm also going to whisk 1 cup of cream and 1.5 tablespoons of sugar until they are at stiff peaks for my filling and for my frosting. So my cake has been in the oven for about 20 to 25 minutes. I did a toothpick check. It came out clean. I checked to see if there was no spots that were soft, and I'm going to let it cool. So now it's time to unmold my cake and prepare it. So I just run a knife along the sides to make sure nothing is sticking, and I pop the cake right out of the pan. I'm going to flip it over because it's easier to cut from the crusty side up. I'm going to use a serrated knife for this because I want to get really nice slices. Okay, the slices are about 3/16 of an inch to about 1/4 of an inch thick. You don't want to make them too thick because then you won't have any space for filling in your bowl. Let's give the cake a quick taste before we proceed.
I love it.
So now I'm going to prepare to build 1 quart size bowl that I'm going to line with plastic wrap. I actually put a little pan spray in there first so that it really helps it stick and not move around while I'm building the cake. Obviously I had a little bit of difficulty getting this in there, but once it was in there nice and secure, I was ready to go. Just try to make sure that there's no bubbles. So here we go. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take some of our long slices and we're going to place it along the bottom of the bowl. What you want to do is you want to place them as close together as possible, and you kind of want to cover it along the shape and the sides of the bowl, pressing it down a little bit as you go along. If the pieces fall apart, that's okay. You're going to cover the outside of this with whipped cream, so nobody's going to see that. And you want to go all the way around the bowl. You don't want to have any open spots. Press the cake along the sides one more time. You're going to take half of the chocolate pudding, spread it along the bottom, and then you're going to take about 1/4 of the whipped cream, spread it around on top of the pudding. Then you're going to put a thin layer of cake slices. Then we're going to do another layer of pudding. Spread it out nice and evenly. You're going to take another 1/4 of the mixture of the whipped cream and put that on top of the chocolate pudding layer. And then I'm going to put some nice thin cake slices along the bottom of this cake just to make an actual bottom of the cake. Just try to save a little bit of cake so we have some crumbs to put on top. I'm going to put some plastic wrap on top of this, and I'm going to put it in my refrigerator for a few hours until it's nice and chilled, but I'm going to put a plate on top of it to weigh it down so it sits a little bit more compact. All right, so now it's time to unmold my cake. It was in the refrigerator for about 3 hours before I was ready to unmold it. So I take my plastic wrap off and I'm just going to quickly turn it onto another piece of parchment paper. You don't have to put it on a piece of parchment paper, but I find it to be easier for me to move the cake around from one surface to another. Pull the plastic wrap to help release it from the sides, and out it comes. It's nice and firm, and that is what the cake looks like before it is going to be frosted. So now I'm going to take all the remaining whipped cream that I have and I am going to frost the outside of this cake. I'm going to take an offset spatula. I'm going to put the whipped cream on the top of the dome and I'm just going to spread the whipped cream around nice and evenly. For the last finishing touch, I'm going to take the little bit of leftover cake crumbs that I have and I'm just going to crumble them up and I'm going to pour them on the top of this cake. If you don't have any cake left over, you can use a little bit of sprinkling of cocoa powder. You could put some sprinkles on top. You could put some chocolate, melted chocolate drizzle on top, whatever your heart desires. Now I'm going to just take a spatula, place it underneath the cake, and gently transfer it to my serving plate. Here's what the cake looks like when I took a slice out of it. I served it plated with a little bit of melted chocolate or even some chocolate syrup that you can buy in the supermarket. Hope you enjoyed this recipe. Let us know if you subscribe to our channel and hit that bell for notifications for when we post new videos.